Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something maybe not immediately obvious. It's how project management principles, the power behind them, isn't just for typical projects. It can seriously elevate how we manage and build products.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it, those structured ways of getting things done on time, on budget. Those exact ideas can bring predictability, real efficiency to the whole product journey.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because product management often feels like, like you're navigating constant change, right?
Mm-hmm. It can feel that way.
But what we're digging into today is how a bit of that structured thinking, maybe counterintuitively, can actually boost creativity and lead to better quality, more successful products.
Totally. And for you listening, getting this connection, it's like a shortcut, a genuine one. It's about having these proven tools, these frameworks to handle the messy parts of product development.
Gives you an edge.
Definitely gives you an edge bringing those products to market. So yeah, where do we kick this off?
Let's start right at the foundation. Project management basics. Okay, so unpack this for us. What's the essential DNA of project management?
Well, put simply, it's really the art and science of managing resources, people, time, money, all focused on hitting a specific defined goal, taking something complex and breaking it down.
Right, making it manageable. And it's not just random methods, is it? There are actual blueprints out there.
Oh, absolutely. The field has these really well-recognized frameworks. They give you a structure, a lens to see the key parts. You've got the PMBOK guide from PMI that's huge globally, and Prince2, which came out of the UK government. Very process-focused, both give solid guidance.
So different approaches maybe, but the core ingredients are pretty similar.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
The names might change a bit, PMBOK, Prince2, others, but the core methods, the processes, they're remarkably consistent underneath. It's all about bringing structure, order.
And there's a flow to it, right? It's not just a random collection of techniques.
Definitely a flow.
Yeah.
Usually you see these 5 core process groups popping up everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
initiating, planning, executing, controlling, and closing.
Okay.
Think of them as phases, but, and this is key, they're not strictly step-by-step one after the other.
Mhm.
You often cycle back, revisit planning during execution, for instance, as you learn things.
Right, okay. Start, plan, do, check, finish. Seems logical enough. But how does that actually help in product management? Why should product folks care about these 5 groups?
Because applying these, even thoughtfully adapting them, brings real benefits to product work. You can genuinely expect like a boost in team productivity because things are clearer, better product quality because of the planning and control, more efficient use of resources, always a big one.
Yeah, definitely.
And super critical today, often a faster time to market.
Faster time to market, you had me there. That's always a win.
Isn't it just? And right in the middle of all this is the project manager. In a traditional project, what's their main job, and how does that view help us in product management?
Well, my understanding is they're the conductor, right? The person holding it all together, responsible for success.
That's it, exactly. They work super closely with the project sponsor. That's the person or group funding it, championing it. They figure out staffing, budget, all that. And ultimately, yeah, they're on the hook for hitting the targets on time, on budget, meeting requirements, quality performance, everything.
The orchestra conductor, indeed. And you want them involved early, I assume.
Oh, absolutely critical. Ideally, you bring a project manager in right at the start, conception stage, if possible.
Really? That early?
Yes. It lets them establish that oversight from day one, help shape things. Plus, there's a real benefit to assigning PMs to specific product areas. They build up this deep expertise over time in that product or product line. Makes them way more effective.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Build that domain knowledge. All right, so we've got the foundation basics, core processes, the PM role. Now, let's get practical. What specific methods and processes can product managers actually use, starting at the beginning? Initiation.
Okay, initiation. This is basically about formally kicking things off, right? Deciding, are we doing this? Or do we move to the next step?
That in green light.
Exactly. And key things you do here. First, you got to know who's paying for it, identify the project sponsor.
Behind the money.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Then you really dig into the business case. Does it make financial sense? Is it even feasible? And importantly, does it actually line up with, the bigger company strategy?
Right, that filter you mentioned, making sure it's not just a cool idea, but strategically sound.
Absolutely. Prevents wasting effort on things that just don't fit.
Makes total sense. Okay, sponsor identified, business case checked. What's next?
Then you hammer out the project charter. Think of it like a high-level map.
The blueprint.
Yeah, exactly. It sketches out the big picture potential risks, who the key players are, major milestones, constraints, the boundaries of the whole thing.
Setting the ground rules early.
Right. And after that, usually you have a kickoff meeting, get the team together, share all this info.
Get everyone on the same page.
Precisely. That charter, it becomes that shared understanding. Helps avoid confusion down the line about what you're actually trying to achieve.
Good communication right out of the gate. Important.
Crucial. Another vital step in initiation. Setting your project baselines. These are your starting points for cost, schedule, time, quality. Your benchmarks.
The yardstick to measure against later?
Exactly. You need that to see how you're doing during execution. Plus, it helps you build realistic contingency plans, buffers for when things inevitably change.
Geez, they always do.
They always do. And finally, initiation includes approving the plan for the next phase. So at the end of each phase, you do a review. How do we do against those baselines? Look at variances in schedule, cost, scope, quality, risks. Did we get the benefits we expected?
A go-no-go decision point almost.
Pretty much. It's that crucial check. Does it still make sense to keep investing in this?
Got it. A system of checks and balances from the start. Okay. Initiation handled. Now the roadmap. Planning. What happens here?
Planning is where you get into the nitty-gritty, detailing how the work gets done, who does what. It starts with defining the project scope, really describing in detail all the work needed. This usually ends up in a scope statement or a statement of work. That's your foundation for everything else.
Okay, so getting super clear on what done actually means, preventing that scope creep later.
That's the goal. Scope creep is a killer. A tight scope definition is your best defense. Then, building on that scope, you create a work breakdown structure, a WBS.
You're breaking it down.
Exactly. You take the total scope and chop it into smaller, manageable pieces, tasks, subtasks. This is essential for estimating costs and how long things will take accurately. And it helps control scope changes later, too.
Right, turning the mountain into molehills almost. What about the timing, the schedule?
That's schedule development.
Yeah.
You sequence all those activities from the WBS logically, figure out what resources each needs, estimate durations. Then you find the critical path, that sequence of tasks that determines the project's total length.
The long pole in the tent.
Precisely. You refine the schedule, look for any slack or buffer time.
Knowing that critical path tells you where you really need to focus your attention.
Absolutely. So it's not just a list, it's a carefully planned sequence. And then, of course, there's the money.
The budget.
Yep. Determining the project budget, you estimate the cost for each activity, roll it all up. That total becomes your cost baseline. Planning also covers quality. You define the quality standards needed for what you're delivering. Then, you create a quality plan based on the requirements, the success criteria. How will you check quality? How will you prevent errors?
Building quality in, not inspecting it in later.
Ideally, yes. Then there's communications planning. Hugely important. Who needs to know what, when, how often, and how much detail?
Managing stakeholders.
Right. You identify them, figure out their needs, how do you get info to them. And finally, planning includes risk management. This is massive.
Yeah, I bet.
It's ongoing. Identifying potential problems, inaccurate estimates, organizational changes, external stuff like regulations, resource issues, the economy. You identify risks, prioritize them, how likely, how bad, plan responses, and figure out how you'll track and control them.
Being proactive about what could go wrong.
Exactly. Doing this upfront, even in product planning, can save so much pain later.
Wow, okay. Planning is intense, very thorough. So, initiated, planned, time for action, execution, monitoring, and control. It's key here.
Right. This is where the rubber meets the road. You're doing the work based on the plan, but also constantly watching, keeping an eye on schedule, cost, scope, quality, making sure it stays on track. A big activity is verifying completed work. As things get done, deliverables are produced, you have to check them. Do they meet the standard? Are they actually acceptable?
Making sure done really means done right.
You got it. And another critical piece, managing change requests. Remember that change control process you set up in planning? Now you use it.
The scope creep defense system.
Exactly. It's vital for stopping projects from ballooning out of control with extra work. A good process lets you handle changes in a structured way, minimize the disruption.
Keeping the focus, that's a constant battle in product development, for sure.
It really is. You also need regular quality assurance reviews, periodic checks, audits. These help spot deviations from your baselines early. They're feedback loops.
Course correction points.
Right. So you can take action and get things back on track. Then there's the practical stuff. Acquiring resources. getting the people, machines, tools you planned for. And if you need stuff from outside vendors, that's procuring goods and services. Make or buy decisions, RFPs, negotiations, managing suppliers.
Getting the team and the tools lined up when you need them.
Exactly. And as work happens, you'll see variances, differences between planned and actual results. Managing variances means analyzing these deviations. Are they good, bad, big enough to need action? You can use techniques like earned value management for detailed analysis, or simply track planned versus actual progress consistently.
Keeping score.
In a way, yes. You also have to actively manage stakeholder expectations. Different people need different info based on their interest, their authority. Your communications plan guides this.
Tailoring the message.
And finally, risk monitoring and management never stops. You're always looking for new risks, watching for triggers for existing ones, reprioritizing, deciding on responses, using those contingency plans you made, seeing if your mitigation strategies are working.
So execution is really this constant loop to do, check, adjust, communicate. Okay, almost there. Project closeout. What happens at the end?
Closeout is about wrapping everything up cleanly, bringing the project or the phase to an orderly end. Key things. Final project reviews. After all the work's done, you analyze overall performance. How did we do? How were the deliverables? How did suppliers perform? And crucially, lessons learned. Though, honestly, best practice is to capture these throughout the project.
Yeah, wait until the end. People forget things.
Exactly. Details get lost. People might have already moved on. Doing it continuously means you can improve faster on the next phase or project.
Makes sense. Continuous improvement loop.
Right. You also need to close all the financial accounts, final accounting, make sure no more charges hit the project budget.
Dotting the I's and crossing the T's financially.
Yep. And finally, complete and close all procurements. Review contracts, terminate services, work orders, purchases, following procedures.
Tying up all the loose ends. Okay. That's a solid overview of the core PM methods. Now let's connect it directly to product management stages. We talked about that fuzzy front end, the conception stage. Seems chaotic. How does project management help there?
Yeah, the fuzzy front end, ideation, it can feel chaotic, and that's partly necessary, right? You need space for ideas. But too much structure too early can kill creativity. That's true. However, letting it go on too long, unstructured, that can be really costly and risky.
It's a balancing act.
It really is. Applying some core project management processes strategically, even here, it helps. Even basic things like defining objectives clearly, doing an initial risk check, it stops you chasing dead ends.
Injecting just enough order to channel the energy, not stifle it.
Exactly. Think about it. Product management usually owns conceiving new products or enhancing old ones. You often have parallel streams. Idea generation, design concepts.
Market research, marketing analysis.
Right. Both streams benefit from some structure. Even just clear communication channels, regular reviews, getting executive buy-in at key points. It leads to better quality later, better profitability, faster time to market, better resource use.
So even when it's all high-level concepts, PM helps keep focus, avoids wasted effort.
Definitely. Without some structure, that fuzzy front end can just drag on, burn resources, and not produce anything concrete. Remember, resources are usually limited. PM techniques help the team focus on getting meaningful outcomes and knowing when to say, okay, this concept is viable, let's move to formal development.
Right, defining an exit point for that fuzzy stage.
And bringing in a project manager early, even here. They can help identify critical activities, outcomes, deliverables sooner, streamline things.
Okay. Are there specific PM techniques really good for this early stage?
Yeah, a few stand out. Setting clear objectives is huge. Measurable success criteria. Clear goals. Communicating the strategy. Scope management, even lightly applied, helps focus idea generation on the actual problem or opportunity. Stops you going too far afield.
It keeps you grounded.
Risk management, surprisingly useful here too. Not heavy bureaucracy, but basic controls. Helps you avoid sinking time into super high-risk, low-reward ideas or unsafe concepts. Minimizes waste.
Makes sense.
And just having a simple status reporting process keeps stakeholders in the loop. Basic communication.
So a guiding framework, not a rigid cage. Okay. Yeah. What about the main event? Product development itself. That seems like prime territory for project management.
Oh, absolutely. After the fuzzy front end, you typically have phases like plan, develop, qualify, launch, deliver, retire, the develop and launch phases. That's where project management really shines, making sure the product works and gets to market successfully. During develop, you've got constant reviews, checking requirements, Dealing with changes, new opportunities pop up, markets shift, customer needs evolve. Project management gives you the structure to handle those reviews, track tasks, manage changes in a controlled way.
It provides the scaffolding needed to keep development on track, especially when things get complex.
Precisely. Think about all the activities in develop. Prototyping, engineering design, manufacturing planning, assembly, testing, compliance checks.
Cost optimization, quality reviews, documentation, contingency planning.
Exactly. Project management has methods for managing every single one of those through planning, execution, control. Plus, develop often involves tricky technology, uncertainty. PM helps you choose the right development approach. Maybe iterative scheduling for really cutting-edge stuff where you need to experiment.
Yeah, adapting the PM approach to the type of project.
Right. And typical PM activities you see heavily in develop are status reports, meetings, managing documentation, change control, resource management, budget reviews, tracking variances, using project tracking tools.
It really feels like the most natural fit. Defined product, resources, budget requirements. PM provides that essential governance.
It really does. It brings necessary discipline to a complex phase.
Okay, so develop and launch are clear wins for PM. What about after launch? Commercialization, ongoing operations, does PM still play a role?
It absolutely can.
Yeah.
The key insight here is to see many activities in these later stages as projects in themselves.
Ah, okay. Not the day-to-day operation, but specific initiatives within it.
Exactly. Think about commercialization. You might run a specific project just to track and analyze initial performance metrics of the new product.
Okay, yeah.
Planning and setting up the product's supply chain, that can be a project. Coordinating the entire launch campaign, marketing, sales, training, logistics, definitely managed as a project.
Implementing the marketing mix.
That too. Setting up service and warranty plans, a project. Initial training for channel partners or sales teams, another project. They all have defined goals, timelines, resources, deliverables, perfect fit for PM methods.
I see that. Breaking down those big post-launch efforts into manageable projects. What about ongoing operations once the product's established?
Same idea applies. Maybe you want to implement lean manufacturing. That's a project.
Yeah.
Or kick off value engineering efforts to improve the product or cut costs. Value stream mapping. That's a project. Ensuring operational readiness for a new version. Project, optimizing the supply chain further. Project, implementing a maintenance plan for equipment, training new ops staff, putting in a new inventory system.
All projects.
All project. Again, it's the implementation of these changes or systems within the ongoing operation that you manage as a project, not the daily running itself.
Got it. Applying that project discipline to improvement initiatives. Okay, so we've gone from individual projects within the life cycle. But what about when you have lots of related product things happening at once? That's program management, right?
Precisely. Most companies, especially with multiple products, use program management. In product terms, a program is usually a group of related projects managed together. Why? To get benefits you wouldn't get managing them separately.
Synergy.
Exactly. The R&D efforts, operational readiness projects, commercialization plans, all linked to a core product or product family. Sometimes a company might even launch a whole suite of connected products as one big program.
Okay, managing the interdependencies, looking for those combined benefits, what makes that challenging?
Well, coordinating all those simultaneous projects is tough. You get duplication of effort.
Things falling through the cracks.
Right. Oversights, interactions between projects going wrong, missing economies of scale. And it gets even harder with multiple product managers or business units involved, maybe with different priorities.
Sounds like it could get messy fast. How does project management help at the program level?
By applying those same core PM methods and processes, but scaled up to the program level. It brings structure and control to that whole collection of projects. So during program planning, you use PM techniques to map out how projects interact, create an overall program schedule, figure out the total cost, identify program-level risks.
Risks that might hit multiple projects.
Exactly. And during execution, you track overall program progress, manage those program-level risks, facilitate communication across the projects, share data, hold program meetings, manage stakeholders at the program level, report up to senior management.
So stepping back from the individual trees to manage the whole forest, but using similar tools, are there specific program management practices that are really key in a product context.
Yeah, definitely. Program management puts more emphasis on the strategic side, managing the interfaces between projects, leveraging common elements, key benefits for product teams, stronger business focus, ensuring the program delivers profit, ROI, clear strategic focus alignment with company goals, effective coordination across products, teams, functions, activities, deliverables, consistent governance, better prioritization within the program.
More efficient resource allocation across projects?
Right. And grouping similar work for economies of scale.
Makes a lot of sense. Optimizing the whole related set. Now, who usually does this? Is it the product manager wearing another hat?
That happens, but it can be tricky. Two main challenges. First, project management competency. Being a great product manager doesn't automatically mean you're skilled at managing multiple, complex, interconnected projects. That's program management.
Different skill set.
It can be. The other challenge is the two-hat syndrome. Trying to manage a complex program and stay deep in the weeds of the individual products, your attention gets split. Both roles can suffer.
Spreading yourself too thin, so maybe dedicated program managers are better, even if they aren't product gurus themselves.
Often, yes. Bringing in a dedicated project or program management specialist can be really beneficial. They bring impartiality, specialized program management knowledge, a broader perspective, and they're solely focused on program success and objectives.
A dedicated focus.
The key is defining roles. Clearly, product manager owns the what and why of the product. Program manager owns the how of coordinating related initiatives and ensuring they work together closely.
Collaboration is key.
And just like with project managers, getting program managers involved early leads to better decisions for the whole program.
Okay, makes sense. So, projects, programs. Now let's go even higher. Project portfolio management. How does this fit with product management?
Right. So in product management, using a portfolio approach to coordinate different products and product lines is common practice. Project portfolio management is the analogous concept in the project world, coordinating a collection of projects. Because both deal with managing collections, there are definite similarities in how you can apply core PM methods at this level.
But they're not quite the same thing. What's the main difference?
The core focus. Program management connects related projects for specific combined benefits. Project portfolio management. That's about selecting and prioritizing a collection of projects that might be totally unrelated.
Ah.
The goal is making sure this diverse mix of projects taken together best supports the organization's long-term strategic goals. Success is often measured by overall strategic impact, collective financial return.
So choosing the right basket of projects to invest in.
Exactly. The mission is pick and execute the projects that give the biggest positive impact, financially and strategically, while balancing the risks involved.
Okay. And where does product management most often connect with this?
The biggest overlap is usually when the portfolio itself is heavily focused on product-related projects. Maybe a portfolio for a specific product line or a family of related products. To use portfolio management well in product management, you need to understand its key aims.
Which are?
Things like making sure projects align with company goals, strong link between strategy and project selection, getting the most bang for the buck from project investments, providing that big picture view of all project work, promoting diversification and balance across markets, regions, timelines, risk types, technologies, resources, size, competitive edge, mandatory projects, ROI.
It's about strategic alignment and maximizing overall value from all project investments. When does project management expertise usually come into play here at this high level?
Often, it's during portfolio development. This is way upstream, before individual projects even kick off. It's when the organization is deciding which candidate projects to actually fund and pursue.
The investment decision stage.
Right. And while PM expertise might sometimes be overlooked here, involving experienced project management specialists, even in an advisory role, adds real value.
How so?
They can help identify different ways to achieve strategic goals, pinpoint needed technologies, give realistic resource estimates for options, identify which teams need to be involved, help build the business cases, make sure proposals align with objectives, and figure out the most efficient combination of projects to get the maximum value given the company's resources and skills.
So even at that very top level of choosing what to do, that PM perspective on feasibility and execution is valuable. Okay, fascinating. Let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about crucial supporting roles that really impact product success and intersect with these PM principles. Business analysis. Tell us about that role.
Business analysis, or BA. Super critical discipline. It's really about understanding how an organization works, its structure, policies, processes, operations. BAs use this understanding to analyze business needs and recommend solutions to help the organization hit its goals. When you get a skilled BA partnering with a product manager, that's a powerful team. Great facilitators, communicators, analysts, solution recommenders.
And it feels like the BA role has become much more prominent recently. Why is that?
You're absolutely right. It surged because of a few converging trends. Companies need to be more responsive to market changes. Products are getting way more sophisticated, complex. There's huge reliance on IT systems now.
Outsourcing is common.
Right. And regulations are getting tighter and more complex.
Yeah.
So companies need strong BA capabilities to navigate all this. Experienced BAs define problems clearly, talk to stakeholders effectively, analyze complex stuff, elicit and document requirements, the product features, essentially.
They bridge that gap between the business side and the tech side.
They really do. They're translators, in a way. And they define the business behavior needed to support the product. How do processes, rules, data need to work together? They figure that out, considering organizational constraints and tech limits.
Especially important in big, complex organizations.
Definitely. A good BA can seriously reduce risk and boost the chances of product success there. And it's a mature field. There's the International Institute of Business Analysis, IIBA, the BABUG Guide outlining best practices.
Recognized standards. So how can product managers best leverage BAs throughout the product lifecycle?
Oh, tons of opportunities, really at every stage. Early on, conception and planning. BAs are great for facilitating brainstorming, capturing the voice of the customer, analyzing those initial high-level requirements. Later, development and deployment. They scrutinize the business processes needed to support the product. Engaging them early, especially in planning, lets you pinpoint where their specific skills can add the most value.
And what are those key skills they bring?
It's a broad set. Fantastic communication and facilitation, guiding discussions, supporting negotiations, documenting everything, organizing meetings, spotting issues, finding win-win solutions, deep business and functional expertise, industry knowledge, regulations, competitors, customer segments, strong organizational knowledge, who knows what, how IT systems work, the informal networks, internal politics, terminology, existing products.
Knowing how to navigate the company.
Exactly. Plus, sharp analytical and abstract thinking, understanding impacts, solving complex problems creatively, and they know how and when to use a whole toolkit of BA techniques effectively, ensuring clear communication and traceability.
Wow, that's quite a toolkit. Can you give some concrete examples of where a product manager would really lean on a BA?
Sure. Facilitating brainstorming sessions, like we said, helping set clear product goals and success metrics, eliciting needs from all the different stakeholders, absolutely fundamental work. Process modeling, mapping out the S's and to-be states and how to get there.
Estimating effort, duration, costs, benefits for features.
Yes. Analyzing existing organizational capabilities. Designing business workflows and rules how the business operates to support the product. Assisting with user procedures, training materials. Considering alternative solutions and their trade-offs. And critically, validating that the final solution actually meets the requirements through reviews, simulations, input into testing.
So they're really involved end-to-end. You mentioned their role in product design is especially key today.
Yeah, absolutely. In this market where innovation and speed are everything, BAs help find that competitive edge through really effective product design. They can navigate organizational complexity silos, legacy systems, differing viewpoints that can bog down product managers. And because tech is so embedded in products now, BAs ensure features are enabled by well-designed interactions between processes, rules, data, and IT.
Making sure the plumbing works with the fixtures, so to speak.
Good analogy. They analyze how customers will actually use the product in real scenarios. Then they translate that into recommendations for the underlying business operations needed to support it. They guide the tech engineers. They shape features into a cohesive, user-centered design that aligns with the strategy.
Like that hotel campaign example, the BA considers timing, trade-offs, how all the back-end systems need to talk to each other.
Exactly. They map out those interactions. So while IT might build the factory, the BA designs what the factory produces and how it functions from a business perspective.
Got it. Okay, crucial role. What about user experience, UX? How does that fit in with product and project management?
UX. The partnership between product managers and UX folks usually really kicks into high gear from conception through the end of develop. But honestly, there's a strong case for keeping UX involved continuously throughout the product's life.
Why is that?
Because they share a fundamental goal with product management, creating intuitive value for the end user, making things easy to adopt and use.
That shared focus makes them natural partners.
Indispensable partners. UX pros bring deep understanding of design principles, user-centered methods, a structured process, all to help the PM create value that resonates with users and meets business goals.
So PM focuses maybe more on market business needs. UX champions the end user interaction perspective.
That's a good way to frame it. Like your enterprise software example, the customer might be an exec focused on efficiency gains.
But the user is the employee who just wants it to be easy to use day to day.
Exactly. PM needs to get both. UX are the experts in understanding and advocating for that end user, and UX is broad interfaces, graphics, industrial design, physical interaction, information architecture, messaging, documentation, all of it.
There are even universal design principles, ISO standards for this stuff.
Right, established guidelines, and it requires a really diverse skill set.
Like what kind of skills?
Things like user research, understanding user behavior and context, behavioral design, creating intuitive models, interaction design, prototyping ideas quickly, usability engineering, running tests, analyzing data, graphic design for visual appeal, industrial design for physical products, technical writing for clear documentation. It's multifaceted.
Definitely. And they use the user-centered design, UCD process.
Yes, UCD is central. It means constantly focusing on user needs, wants, limitations at every stage, iterating, testing with real users. The key difference is optimizing for how users want or need to use the product, not making them adapt to a flawed design.
Putting the user truly at the center. How do PMs and UX typically work together in practice?
It varies by company structure, resources. Sometimes PMs do basic UX work themselves. More often, they collaborate with internal or external UX specialists or hire contractors. Yeah, UX skills are in demand.
Yeah, I bet. So companies might have different models.
Yeah.
PM does UX acts as product proxy sometimes.
Right. But regardless of structure, they collaborate closely on key activities, like identifying user problems, quantifying opportunities through user research, reviewing market data. PM provides market info, UX guides the research.
Developing requirements together.
Yes, creating use cases, those specific interaction examples. Defining tasks, outcomes, modeling user needs. UX often creates personas, mental models here.
Writing requirements, validating solutions.
UX develops surveys, interviews, observations to find problems and opportunities that feed requirements. They build prototypes, wireframes, models that get feedback early on concepts.
Analyzing requirements, designing the solution.
UX looks at market, tech, competition from the user's view, conducts research, creates storyboards, flow diagrams, wireframes, prototypes, iterates with users.
And then writing the spec, building the solution.
PM usually writes the high-level market product requirements. UX writes the detailed interaction specs, often using those validated wireframes prototypes. Then engineering builds it, maybe waterfall with specs up front, or agile with specs just in time.
Communication between PM, UX, and engineering is key there.
Absolutely essential. Clarifying the target audience, the problems being solved. UX works with engineers on interaction details, reviews the build, does more user testing, UAT, beta, even post-launch feedback analysis.
Wow. So that PM-UX partnership sounds absolutely fundamental to creating products people actually want to use and that deliver value.
It truly is. When they work together effectively, understanding each other's roles, that's when you get products that hit the mark, meet business goals, and provide a great user experience. Increases the odds of success dramatically.
This has been incredibly insightful, a real deep dive into how project management isn't just for, well, projects in the traditional sense. We've really seen how its core ideas, its frameworks, methods, processes, they form this valuable, adaptable toolkit, something that can significantly boost product management across the entire life cycle.
Exactly. From that fuzzy front end, right through development, launch, operations, even up to strategic portfolio decisions. Understanding these connections, as we've discussed, it just offers a more structured, more predictable, and ultimately a more effective way to bring products to life.
Right. So for everyone listening, as you think about your own product development processes, the challenges you face, here's a thought to take away. Try to identify just one, maybe two, specific project management principles or techniques we talked about today, something you could realistically apply, maybe even starting tomorrow. And then consider, what impact could that actually have on your team's efficiency, on product quality, on that crucial time to market?
Yeah, what might change? It's definitely worth pondering that potential.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us today on The Deep Dive.